It is not by chance that you are here, and that truth is so powerful that if you try to deny it, your own soul will rise up in protest. Something has been arranged for a very long time, even before you began to question your life. The steps that seemed disconnected, the choices that felt mistimed, all of them have been leading you to this exact moment. This is not coincidence. This is the moment when an invisible door begins to tremble, signaling that something sacred is preparing to open. You felt it even before hearing these words, a feeling difficult to name, as if the air around you has grown heavier, quieter, yet more alive. In recent days, you may have found yourself thinking more in silence, not because of sadness, but because something within you is shifting. You are no longer satisfied with old answers. The things that once frightened you now feel like distant echoes. That is the sign of a soul being awakened. You are chosen not because you are perfect, but because you have endured long enough to learn how to listen. There were nights when you lay still, not asking for anything grand, only hoping to understand why your path was so different from everyone else's. And in those moments, when no one else could see you, you were seen, not by people, but by the one who watches every quiet heartbeat within you. There is a truth few speak of. The most important journeys often begin in silence. No applause, no congratulations, no clear signs to display. You have been in that season longer than you realize. The times you were overlooked, the doors that closed just as you thought you were about to reach them, were not because you were unworthy, but because you were being held back, protected from what came too soon, from eyes not yet pure enough to see what God is placing within you. Psalm 25:14 speaks clearly. The Lord reveals his covenant to those who fear him. That covenant is not read aloud in a crowd. It is whispered in moments when it is only you and the naked truth of who you are. And as that covenant begins to unfold, you will find yourself led along paths unlike any other, sometimes very lonely, yet never without meaning. You may have wondered why you always felt different, even when you tried to blend into the crowd, why you could never pretend that everything was fine when deep inside you knew it was not. That is not weakness, that is the intuition of someone who carries a promise. Souls like yours are not born to live loudly from the beginning. You were born to carry something powerful enough to require time to form in the dark. Right now, a movement is taking place that cannot be seen with ordinary eyes, not because it is small, but because it belongs to another realm. You do not need to understand it all. You only need to recognize that you are standing at a boundary. On one side is your old life, where you have learned enough lessons of waiting. On the other side is something new calling your name, but not yet asking you to run toward it, only asking you to stand still and listen. You may feel a strange pressure, not coming from outside, but from within. Not a push, but a reminder, as if someone is placing a hand on your shoulder and saying it is time to take your own journey seriously. No need to tell anyone, no need to prove anything. This is a moment between you and God, and any noise that enters now could distort what is being formed. Some are given blessings quickly, and they are taken away just as fast. You are not among them. You are given deep preparation, so deep that at times you felt forgotten. But the truth is, you are being built from the ground up. Foundations are never built on a stage. They are laid deep in the earth, where no one applauds, but where everything that stands later must rely on them. Notice how recently you feel less need to explain yourself. You are no longer interested in arguing to defend your views, not because you lack a voice, but because you are learning the value of restraint. Some things, when spoken too early, are misunderstood. Some things can only be proven by results, not by words. This is when you need to understand that your silence is not emptiness. It is sacred space. It is where something great is being conceived. Each day you do not rush, do not react emotionally, do not share what is not yet ready, is a day you are protecting a promise you cannot yet fully see the shape of. You do not need to believe everything all at once. You only need to be honest enough to admit that something in these words is touching you exactly where you are. And if that is true, then allow this journey to unfold as it has been destined. Not faster, not slower, only at the right time. Because this is only the beginning. And this beginning does not need noise. It only needs your readiness. There is something you need to understand right now, and it is not comfortable, but it is true. Not everything given to you is meant to be exposed. Not because it is weak, but because it is too powerful to be touched by hands that are not ready. What is being prepared in your life does not need applause. It needs protection. And that protection has a very specific form: silence. You have learned this lesson before, even if at the time you could not name it. There were moments when you spoke too early, shared too honestly, too widely, too trustingly. And right after that, everything slowed down, not because the promise disappeared, but because it became disturbed, envious eyes, doubtful words, opinions disguised as concern, all found their way in. No one was intentionally trying to harm you, but not everyone has the capacity to hold what is sacred. This time, the instruction is very clear. Prepare, but do it in silence. No need to post, no need to explain, no need to announce that you are about to change. Real change does not need advance notice. It arrives when everything is already in its proper place, and when it comes, no one needs to be convinced. You may feel an urge to speak, to share so your heart feels lighter, to be reassured that you are not crazy, that you are not imagining things. But pause, not because you are wrong, but because you are in a very delicate season, like a seedling just breaking through hard soil. Sunlight that comes too early can burn it. The wrong gaze at the wrong time can do the same. You are not being asked to isolate. You are simply being invited to choose carefully. Not everyone needs to know what you are doing. Not everyone needs to understand what you are feeling. Some steps are witnessed only by heaven, and that is enough. You do not owe the world an explanation for your obedience. Notice that when you are silent, something very strange begins to happen. Your inner world becomes clearer. You start to distinguish between the voice of fear and the whisper of guidance. When you speak less, you hear more. And when you hear more, you realize that you have never truly been alone on this journey. There are things being arranged behind the curtain that you cannot see. Conversations taking place without you present. Decisions being made without your awareness. And that is not a sign of losing control. It is a sign that you are not meant to carry the entire burden alone. Another hand is at work, very precise, very calm, very patient. You may find yourself drawn to new habits, speaking less, thinking more carefully, choosing timing more wisely, not because you are afraid of being wrong, but because you are beginning to respect the weight of words. Every sentence you release carries energy, and in this season, that energy needs to be held, gathered, not scattered. Remember that not every delay is an obstacle. Some doors, if opened too early, would lead you into rooms you are not yet strong enough to stand in. You are not being held back because you are lacking. You are being held back because a foundation is being built for something lasting. And foundations are never rushed. You may see others moving quickly, displaying results, receiving praise. Do not let that shake you. Every journey has its own rhythm. And your rhythm right now is the rhythm of discretion, not because there is no light, but because light is being stored. When it bursts forth, it will not flicker and fade. It will remain. There is a special protection surrounding you at this time, not to separate you from the world, but to filter what is allowed to reach you. You will notice some conversations naturally ending, some connections slowly fading. Do not cling to them. This is not loss. This is preparation. You do not need to understand everything to keep moving forward. You only need enough humility to trust that a higher wisdom is guiding you. And that wisdom is not in a hurry. It does not panic. It is not pressured by human timelines. It knows exactly when a seed is strong enough to rise above the ground. Let your silence become a place of refuge, not a place of escape, but a place of nourishment. Every day you choose not to speak what is not yet ready. You are choosing life for it. Every time you hold back instead of exposing, you are proving that you have grown beyond who you were yesterday. You are learning how to walk with God without holding the hand of the entire world, and that is a kind of freedom very few people understand. But you will understand because you are in the right place, at the right time, in the right season. There are doors that make no sound when they open, yet the shift in the air around them is enough for your soul to recognize it. You are standing before one of those doors. No one handed you a key, and no one announced that the moment had arrived. But you know because what once felt stuck is beginning to loosen. Old questions no longer haunt you. Fears that once held you back now feel like faint shadows behind you. This is not happening by chance. It happens when a new order is activated. There is a principle at work in your life right now, and it does not depend on human opinion. Isaiah 22:22 says that what God opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. When that principle begins to operate, you realize that you no longer need to convince anyone to believe in your journey. The right doors will open on their own. The wrong doors will close on their own. And you do not need to stand in between and explain. You will notice that people who once did not see you are starting to pay attention. Not because you changed to impress, but because true light cannot be ignored forever. At the same time, you will feel a very clear awakening. Not everyone who comes close is meant to walk with you. Light attracts, but not every attraction comes from the same source. This is when you learn to remain still, not reacting to excitement, not opening your heart to praise, not rushing into attachment just because you are acknowledged. You are being guided into a different rhythm, the rhythm of awareness. No longer living by emotional highs and lows, no longer rushing out of fear of missing an opportunity. You begin to understand that what belongs to you will not pass you by, and what does not belong to you, no matter how tightly you hold it, will leave. The peace in that understanding makes you steadier than you realize. You may notice that you speak less, but not because you have nothing to say. You speak less because you are listening more, listening to subtle movements within, listening to the fine distinction between intuition and anxiety. When you no longer need to speak to exist, you begin to exist more deeply. Your presence changes, not loud, but weighty. If at this moment you feel that this message is touching exactly what you are experiencing, allow yourself to acknowledge that in a very simple way. Leave a word, a small sign in the comments, as a way of telling yourself that you recognize yourself here. And if you want to continue moving with this current, stay, connect, not out of habit, but because there are layers of meaning that open only to those willing to go deeper. You do not need to change the world right now. You only need to keep the world within you undisturbed. There will be invitations that come, looking very attractive, very reasonable, very right on the surface. But you will learn to wait one more beat, not out of doubt, but because you understand that what is right never needs to rush. When you wait, you lose nothing. When you rush, you can lose a great deal. There will be moments when you feel like you are standing between two worlds. One side is the familiar, where you know how to manage, how to endure, how to survive. The other side is the new, with no map, no guarantees, only a very clear sense that this is where you are meant to go. That tension is not a sign of mistake. It is a sign of transition. Every birth comes with pressure. You do not need to announce that you are entering a new phase. Real phases do not need to be named early. They need to be lived long enough to become truth. When you speak before something is strong enough, you unintentionally hand the power of judgment to those who are not responsible for protecting it. And you are not called to live under the judgment of eyes that do not understand the depth of this journey. There is something very important you must hold within. You were not chosen to impress. You were chosen to complete something that carries weight. That weight is not measured by applause, but by the number of souls touched when the time comes. And that time is not decided by you. It is set by a higher order, where every detail has a reason. You will begin to notice that you are no longer drawn to meaningless arguments. You no longer need to win with words. You win by steadiness. When others try to pull you into noise, you choose silence, not because you are weak, but because you understand that your energy is being used elsewhere for something more important, something that does not yet need to be revealed. You may feel that you are moving slower than others, but deeper. While many chase the surface, you are being led into the roots. And roots never show themselves until they are strong enough to hold the entire tree. You are not slow. You are being positioned so that when you rise, you do not fall. Let this sink into you deeply. You do not need to prove that you are chosen. If you have to prove it, then it is no longer a gift. What comes from God carries its own confirmation. When the time arrives, no one can deny it. No arguments, no explanations, only truth standing there, steady, without needing to speak loudly. You are learning to walk with quiet confidence, not the kind built on achievements, but on the knowing that you are on the right path. And this path, though narrow now, quiet now, and understood by few, is leading you into a space wider than you ever imagined. Keep walking, but walk slowly. Keep listening, but do not seek noise. What is opening before you does not need you to run. It needs you to be ready. And that readiness begins with staying, not missing the deeper layers that are being revealed. Silence begins to take on a different shape when you stay in it long enough. At first, it feels like emptiness, a space with no response, no validation, no applause. But if you do not rush to leave, you will realize that silence is not empty at all. It is full of movement. Those movements are simply not meant for ordinary eyes. They happen at a deeper level, where real decisions are formed before the world has time to notice. You are learning a lesson that very few people are willing to learn all the way through. The lesson that speaking is not always an act of faith. There are times when true faith is found in holding back, holding the promise while it is still fragile, holding hope when it has not yet taken a clear form, holding direction when you do not yet have the words to explain it to others without distorting its original meaning. There is a quiet pressure resting on you in this season. Not the pressure to do something, but the pressure to say something. As if you do not speak up, people will assume you are standing still. But the truth is, you are moving, just in depth rather than in width. And depth never makes much noise. It only changes the structure from the inside. You begin to notice that every time you speak less, the outside world feels less chaotic, not because it has changed, but because you are no longer pulled into its rhythm. You hear your own voice more clearly, and beyond that, the voice of guidance. Decisions no longer come from urgency, but from a very quiet certainty. Not certainty because you know all the outcomes, but certainty because you know you are being led. Ecclesiastes 3:7 says there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. Most people understand the time to speak very well. They speak to exist. to be seen, to avoid being forgotten. But very few are willing to learn the time to be silent, the time to trust that even without speaking, you are still being worked with, the time to understand that great things are not protected by words, but by faithfulness. You are in that time now, the time of quiet strength. No one hands you a badge to prove this. There are no public signs pointing the way. There is only a strange peace that begins to appear each time you choose not to react. When you do not rush to answer, when you do not explain to defend yourself, each time you do this, you do not lose power. You are gathering it. Some people will not understand. They will think you are retreating, slowing down, losing ambition. They are not entirely wrong. You are retreating from something, but not from purpose. You are retreating from unnecessary noise. You are slowing down to see more clearly. You are releasing ego-driven ambition to hold on to the precision of the calling. You will notice that things which once triggered immediate reactions no longer reach you the same way. Judgments, scrutinizing looks, probing questions. They pass by you more lightly than before, not because you have become numb, but because you have shifted your focus. You no longer live to be understood immediately. You live to be fulfilled correctly. There are miracles that do not need a stage. They need time, like a seed in the ground. It does not need to be seen to grow. It needs darkness, moisture, patience. You are in that stage, a stage where being pulled into the light too early would not help you grow, but could cause you to wither. At times you may feel slightly out of sync with the common rhythm. You are no longer excited by the same conversations. You no longer feel the need to share every thought as it appears, not because you have closed your heart, but because you are learning discernment. You are beginning to understand that not everyone needs, and not everyone deserves, to hear what is being planted within you. This discernment does not make you less loving. It gives your love direction, depth. You no longer scatter your energy everywhere. You place it where it belongs, and that gives weight to each of your actions, even when they look ordinary on the surface. You are walking through a season where achievement is not the measure, obedience is the measure. No one praises you when you choose silence instead of argument. No one applauds when you choose waiting instead of grasping. But in those unseen choices, a new structure is being built within you, a structure strong enough to carry what is coming next. Notice that you are no longer as afraid of being misunderstood as you once were. You understand that those who need to understand will understand at the right time, and those who do not. Your early explanations would not change much anyway. Truth does not need debate to exist. It needs time to be clearly seen. A very strange freedom is forming within you. The freedom to not say everything. The freedom to not react immediately. The freedom to not prove yourself. This freedom does not come from controlling the outside world, but from no longer being pulled by it. You stand more firmly, not because you are trying harder, but because your feet are on the right foundation. You are not being asked to remain silent forever. It is simply not time yet. When the moment comes, your words will carry a different weight. Not many, not loud, just timely. And when you speak, they will travel farther than anything you said in haste. Trust that this silence is working for you, not against you. It is protecting what is being formed until it is strong enough to stand in the light without harm. And when that day comes, you will not need to explain why you were silent for so long. The results will speak for themselves. Keeping yourself in silence is not withdrawing from life. It is the necessary step back to leap farther. You are in the right rhythm, the right season, the right process, and none of it is wasted. Something very quiet is happening, and if you are not still enough, you might think nothing is changing, but in truth, everything is changing at the root. The pressures that once weighed on you are beginning to lose their weight. They do not disappear instantly, but they grow lighter in a very strange way, as if they no longer hold the same power. You do not need to push them away. They leave on their own when you no longer resonate with them. You once carried too many eyes upon you, eyes of doubt, eyes of judgment, eyes hoping you would fail so they could feel right. There were days you walked as if being watched, as if one misstep would invite someone to point a finger. But then there comes a moment when you realize you no longer hear those sounds clearly, not because they went silent, but because you have moved to another level, where those noises can no longer reach you. Not everyone who pressured you was bad. Many were simply reflecting their own fears. But what matters is this: they cannot continue with you, not because you are above them, but because the direction has changed. And when direction changes, separation is natural. No confrontation needed, no explanations required, no verbal closure necessary. Silence creates the distance that is needed. Psalm 37:10 says something very plainly. In just a little while, those who cause disturbance will be no more. Even if you look for them, you will not find them. This is not about punishment. It is about rearrangement. Elements that no longer fit will slowly dissolve like smoke. No intervention required, no resistance needed. They leave your life on their own when you are no longer standing on the same frequency. You may notice some relationships changing without a clear conversation. Some people suddenly grow quiet. Some daily exchanges no longer have a reason to continue. Do not panic. This is not loss. This is clearing. Space is being cleaned so you can breathe deeper, think clearer, and walk forward without carrying burdens that were never yours. You may feel a sense of relief you once did not allow yourself to feel. Relief from no longer having to explain. Relief from no longer trying to please. Relief from no longer defending yourself against misunderstandings that were never born from truth. This relief does not make you weaker, it makes you clearer. A new peace is forming, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer living in defense mode. You no longer wake up each day feeling the need to prove something. You do not need to win every conversation. You do not need immediate recognition. You begin to live from a steadier center, where your value no longer depends on the reactions of others. Those who once tried to block you do not need to be confronted. You are not called to fight every battle. There are battles you win by not entering. When you do not react, you do not give energy. When you do not give energy, opposition dissolves on its own. This is not avoidance. This is the wisdom of someone who knows where they are going. You may realize that you are no longer pulled into old stories. Rumors, comments, painful memories that once replayed in your mind no longer cut the same way. They still exist as facts, but they are no longer open wounds. They become evidence of how far you have come. And this healing itself is clearing the way for what comes next. A cleansing is taking place not only outside, but within you. Self-doubt begins to weaken. Questions about whether you are worthy no longer appear as often as before, not because you have become arrogant, but because you are tired of standing against yourself. You begin to stand on your own side, fully, for the first time. You do not need to celebrate too early. You do not need to rejoice before seeing clear results. But you can feel something very certain. The old weight is no longer there. And when the weight lifts, energy begins to flow in a different direction. No longer into endurance, it begins to flow into building. You may be surprised to find that you are no longer curious about what others think of you. Not because you do not care, but because you no longer need that to know who you are, you know, and that knowing does not require constant confirmation. It stands steady, firm, quiet. This is a clear sign that a season has ended. No ritual, no announcement, no dramatic goodbye, only a very real inner shift. And this quiet ending is making room for something new that you do not need to rush to see yet. Let what needs to leave, leave. Do not hold on out of fear of emptiness. Emptiness is not the enemy. Emptiness is space for what is right to enter. And what is right does not arrive in chaos. It arrives when there is room. You are not being abandoned. You are being released. And when you understand that, you will no longer see silence as absence. You will see it as a sign that the unseen hand is still at work, precise, fair, and perfectly timed. When the burden lifts, you begin to notice something very strange. You no longer have to struggle to move forward. Everything does not rush in all at once, but it begins to move in your direction. No pulling, no pushing. You only need to keep walking in the quiet rhythm you have learned. A new force is at work, not loud, but steady, like underground water pressing tree roots deeper each day. You once believed blessings were something you had to chase, to run, to compete, to prove you were worthy. But this season is teaching you the opposite. Deuteronomy 28:2 says that all blessings will come upon and overtake those who obey the voice of the Lord. You do not chase blessings. Blessings are looking for you, and they find you not when you are exhausted, but when you are aligned on the inside. You can feel it in very small but very real changes. Conversations suddenly open doors. Ideas that were delayed now have room to breathe. Doors you stopped knocking on begin to open on their own, not because you are better than yesterday, but because you stopped walking in the wrong direction, when you no longer force yourself into spaces that are not meant for you. The right spaces begin to recognize you. What matters is this: you do not need to rush. Real blessings do not need to be grabbed. They are strong enough to wait for you to catch up. When you live in alignment, everything arrives on time, not so early that it overwhelms you, not so late that it discourages you, right on time so you can receive it without losing yourself. You may begin to notice your energy changing, not the kind of temporary excitement, but a new endurance. You are not as tired as before, even though the workload has not decreased. You are no longer drained by repeating thoughts. This does not come from sleeping more, but from no longer wasting energy on unnecessary battles. When you stop fighting the current lifts you. Isaiah 40:31 says that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. This is not poetic language. It is an accurate description of what is happening within you. You begin to rise each day with a different feeling, not always excited, but steady. Steady enough that what once made you hesitate no longer has the strength to pull you back. You may see people around you still running after opportunities, running after recognition, running after the feeling of not being left behind. You are no longer running like that. Not because you do not care, but because you understand that running in the wrong direction only exhausts you faster. You choose to walk, step by step, because you know you are moving with something greater than temporary emotion. Blessings in this season do not come only in material form. They arrive as inner freedom. You are no longer compelled to compare yourself. You no longer feel lacking when you see someone else succeed. You can celebrate them without feeling left behind. That is a clear sign that healing is taking place at a deep level, where competition once lived. There will be days when you notice yourself smiling without a clear reason, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer carrying the pressure to be perfect. You allow yourself to be human, with your own rhythm, your own process. And that permission opens the way for joy to return. Joy does not need to be guarded, it only needs not to be suffocated. You will also notice your body responding to the inner change. Old tensions no longer settle in your shoulders, your back, your breath. Not every pain disappears, but many things begin to feel lighter. When the mind is no longer constantly fighting, the body is allowed to rest. That rest is not laziness, it is restoration. Blessings also come in the form of clarity. You are no longer lost among hundreds of choices. You begin to know what is yours and what is not. No long lists required, just a very steady sense when the right thing appears. You no longer need to ask too many people. You no longer need to test reactions. You hear a quiet yes from within, and you trust it. There may be moments when doubt appears. That does not make you weak. It simply reminds you that you are human. But unlike before, you do not let doubt lead. You acknowledge it, note it, and keep walking. You do not let a passing emotion decide a long-term direction. That is a sign of maturity you have paid dearly to gain. You are learning how to receive blessings without guilt, without asking why you receive while others have not yet. You understand that everyone has their own process, and your blessing does not take away from anyone else. When you receive with gratitude instead of fear, the blessing stays. When you fear losing it, you unknowingly close the door. You are learning to keep your hands open, not clenched. What is happening does not need to be displayed. It needs faithfulness. Faithfulness to the new habits being formed. Faithfulness to the silence that saved you from many troubles. Faithfulness to guidance that does not always make sense to outsiders. When you are faithful in small things, big things will not overwhelm you when they arrive. You do not need to prove that you are blessed. Real blessing does not need to be showcased. It shows in how you respond, how you rest, how you walk. Others will sense that something is different, but they do not need to understand it right away. And you are not responsible for explaining. When they ask, you can smile. When they do not, you are still at peace. Let this settle deeply within you. Blessings are in motion, and they are not lost. They know exactly where you are. Your task is not to chase them, but not to turn back. Not back to old habits, not back to old arguments, not back to fears that once kept you standing still. You are entering a season where quiet obedience produces very clear results. No need to be fast, just be right. And every right step, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to what you once only dared to pray for in silence. Keep the rhythm, keep the heart, keep the direction. The rest is being handled at a level you do not need to control. A mark is gradually revealing itself in your journey, not through numbers on a clock or signs on the road, but through a very clear feeling within your soul. You are beginning to realize that you are no longer in between. A cycle has closed. This is not loud, not dramatic, but very final. What once repeated, what stretched on without resolution, no longer holds the same power. You have crossed a boundary that the version of you from years ago could not have stood on. The number 777 carries this meaning. It does not speak of luck, but of divine completion and spiritual awakening. When 777 appears, it confirms that what needed to be learned has been learned. What needed to be endured has been endured, and what needed preparation has gone deep enough to be activated. This is not an ending, but a shift in level. A door closes behind you, not to trap you, but so nothing can pull you back to where you have already passed. You may feel that this change does not come from the outside, but from the way you now see everything. What once made you anxious no longer occupies your entire mind. Old fears do not disappear completely, but they are no longer in the driver's seat. You begin to make decisions from a very different place, not from survival reflex, but from an understanding that you are being guided by a greater order. 777 also carries a gentle but clear reminder. Your soul is awake. You begin to notice subtle signals you once overlooked. A meeting that seems random, a sentence that sounds ordinary but lingers longer, a feeling to wait or to move forward without a clear reason. This is not imagination. This is sensitivity returning as you stop living in prolonged tension. You do not need to search for this number everywhere. If it resonates with you, you will know, not through logic, but through inner confirmation. And if you feel that 707 aligns with the stage you are in, you can acknowledge it in a very simple way. You may share the number that resonates with you most, not to explain, but to recognize that you have noticed the sign of entering a new level. There is something important you must hold firmly in your heart right now. When a cycle is complete, you do not need to turn back to check if it has truly ended. That doubt only appears when you do not yet trust that you have grown enough to move forward. But the truth is, you are different now. The way you react is different. The way you wait is different. The way you set boundaries is different. And those differences are the clearest proof that you are no longer in the same place. You may feel a very strange peace, not because everything is clear, but because you no longer need everything to be clear immediately. You trust that what needs to be known will be revealed at the right time. This trust is not blind. It is built on experience, on the times you thought you would not make it, yet you did, on the seasons you believed you were being left behind, only to realize you were being held back. 777 also reminds you that completion does not mean total rest. It means you no longer have to repeat old lessons. You no longer need to prove your worth by enduring more. You no longer need to stay in places that drain you just to show loyalty. The greatest loyalty now is loyalty to who you have become. You will notice that you are no longer interested in going back to explain past decisions. You no longer want to retell painful stories to be understood, not because you deny the past, but because you have integrated it. It no longer needs to be repeated to prove that you survived it. It lives within you as a foundation, not as a wound. There may be people from the past who appear again, carrying old questions and old patterns. You do not need to react as you once did. You do not need to become an old version of yourself to make them comfortable. Your change does not require permission. If they cannot keep up, it does not make you wrong. It simply confirms that you are moving forward. At this level, you begin to understand that awakening is not about knowing all the answers, but about no longer being afraid of the questions. You can stand before the unknown without panic. You can step into emptiness without rushing to fill it. That is the sign of a soul strong enough to no longer cling to control. 777 is confirmation that you are ready for the next acceleration, not by moving faster, but by becoming lighter. Fewer burdens, less noise. When you no longer carry old cycles, you move forward naturally, not by force, but because nothing is holding you back. Let this settle into you very slowly. You are not late. You are not behind. You have completed exactly your part. And when your part is complete, the next part does not need to be forced. It will open on its own, the way everything sacred always does. Keep your peace. Keep your steps steady. The mark has been placed. What comes next no longer needs doubt. It is arriving from a place that is solid, true, and perfectly timed. After a cycle closes, movement is no longer as slow as before, not because you are pushing, but because there is no longer resistance holding you in place. You begin to feel a very different acceleration. Not loud, not overwhelming, but clear enough that you cannot deny it. Things that once took a long time to shift now begin to move faster, lighter, as if the current has finally turned in your direction. You may be surprised to see doors you stopped knocking on long ago suddenly open, not because someone feels sorry for you, but because the timing is ripe. Emails get answered, calls arrive at the right moment, meetings that seem accidental place the missing piece directly into your hands. You do not need to chase. You only need to be present when it arrives. What matters is that you no longer feel the need to run to keep up. Before, every opportunity came with the fear that if you did not grab it immediately, you would lose everything. Now it is different. You realize that what truly belongs to you will not pass you by quietly. It will be clear enough for you to recognize, stable enough for you to step into without losing yourself. This acceleration is not only happening on the outside, it is happening in the way you handle things. You decide faster but without rushing. You let go faster but without bitterness. You move forward without constantly looking back. Not because the past does not matter, but because it has completed its role. It no longer needs you to return to explain or repair it. You may notice that tasks which once caused delay no longer carry the same weight. You no longer have to convince yourself for so long to begin. Not because you are no longer afraid, but because fear no longer has veto power. It sits in the back seat while you hold the wheel. That is a clear sign of inner maturity you had to walk through a great deal to gain. You begin to see time operating differently. Things you once thought would take many more years now compress. Not because you are better than others, but because you have already passed through the hardest part, the part no one sees. When the foundation is deep enough, building upward no longer requires excessive force. Everything unfolds more naturally than you expected. A very subtle reversal is taking place. What once exhausted you now becomes a resource. Experiences that once wounded you now become understanding. You no longer look back on the past with a sense of loss, but with a calm recognition that it helped shape who you are now, and that person is strong enough to receive more without breaking. You may find that you are no longer startled by change. Instead of panicking when things move quickly, you meet it with a strange steadiness. Not because you know everything in advance, but because you have learned to trust the process. When you trust, you do not need to control every detail. And when you stop over-controlling, the flow does not get blocked. Those around you may notice that you are different, not because you speak more, but because you are more grounded. You do not need to convince anyone that you are in a new season. The way you walk is enough to say it. You do not need to retell the difficult journey. Your presence already carries the answer. This acceleration does not pull you into chaos. It brings you into clarity. You know where to place your energy and where to withdraw it. You are no longer as scattered as before. You no longer do everything just to avoid being left behind. You do what needs to be done at the right time in the right place. And the rest you leave alone, not out of indifference, but out of trust. You may realize that you are no longer afraid of things changing quickly. Before, speed frightened you because you were not yet stable. Now, speed is no longer a threat. It is simply a sign that you are ready. When the inside is steady, the outside can move without throwing you off balance. You do not need to announce that your life is accelerating. True acceleration does not need to be declared. It reveals itself through results, through lightness, through the fact that you no longer have to strain to maintain an image. You are not following someone else's pace. You are moving in your own rhythm, and that rhythm is finally carrying you forward faster. Stay alert in this season. Acceleration does not mean becoming careless. It means trusting what is at work while remaining humble. Do not return to old habits just because things are flowing. Do not speak too early about what is still being formed. Silence remains your armor, even when things begin to brighten. You do not need to worry about missing out. You are no longer in a season of missing. You are in a season of catching up with yourself, with your true rhythm, with what you have been prepared to carry. Everything is moving faster, but not chaotically. It is being guided, and you, even without seeing the full picture, are standing in the right place to receive the next step without being overwhelmed. When acceleration begins to stabilize, you will notice a subtle but very deep change. The environment around you is no longer the same. Not because you deliberately changed it, but because you no longer fit into the old structures. Places that once felt familiar now feel tight. Conversations that once stretched on now end sooner. There is no major conflict, no clear goodbye, only a very real sense that you no longer belong to those circles. This rearrangement does not happen in chaos. It happens with order, even if from a human perspective it may seem hard to understand. Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. What leaves is not because you failed, but because it has completed its role. What arrives is not because you are lucky, but because the time has come for it to appear. You begin to notice that the people entering your life now carry a different energy. Not loud, not showy, but deep. Some come just to speak one timely sentence and then leave. Some appear as quiet support, without much explanation. Some open a door you never knew existed. You do not need to try to impress. Your presence alone is enough to connect. What stands out is that you no longer try to hold on to relationships that have run dry. Before, you held on out of fear of emptiness, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing shared history. Now, you understand that history is not erased when a chapter ends. It is placed where it belongs, and you do not need to carry everything to prove that you once passed through it. You may feel a very strange authority in the way you enter new spaces, not authority that comes from position or words, but from clarity. You know who you are without needing to say it. You know where you are going, even if you cannot yet draw a detailed map. That clarity keeps you from being pulled into games that are not meant for you. Questions that once haunted you begin to fall away on their own, not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you no longer need them to keep moving. You understand that some things only become clear after you have gone far enough. Standing still to demand absolute certainty only slows the process, and you are no longer in that stage. You will also notice that invitations no longer sway you as they once did. You are no longer drawn to shiny appearances if there is no inner resonance. You choose to slow down and feel, instead of agreeing quickly just to avoid missing out. That discernment protects you from having to turn back later. There may be people from the past who return, not to pull you down, but to witness how much you have changed. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to retell the journey. Your change is clear enough without explanation. And if they do not understand, it does not shake you. You no longer seek confirmation from places you have already outgrown. Your inner space is being rearranged as well. You no longer hold too many voices. You know which voice to listen to, and which are only old echoes. This inner quiet allows you to discern more clearly. You do not react quickly. You do not decide in emotional peaks. You wait for things to settle, and then you move. And that movement is often more accurate than you expect. You begin to realize that you no longer need to force yourself to be strong. Real strength is coming from honesty with yourself. When you are tired, you allow yourself to rest. When you are unsure, you allow yourself to wait. That does not make you weak. It makes you durable. And durability is what is needed for the long road ahead. This rearrangement is not a sign of loss, but a sign of elevation. Not everything old is bad, but not everything old can walk with you. You are entering a space that requires lighter weight, and you are learning to let go without guilt. Let what no longer fits leave on its own. Do not hold on out of habit. Do not return out of nostalgia. What belongs to you will find a way to stay, even if its form changes. And what does not belong to you, no matter how tightly you hold it, will become a burden. You are not being isolated. You are being aligned with purpose, aligned with a new rhythm, aligned with people and spaces that lift you instead of holding you back. And when this alignment is complete, you will realize that you no longer have to try to belong. You simply need to be present. What is happening does not need the approval of the majority. It needs your faithfulness. Faithfulness to the changes taking place, even when you cannot yet name them. Faithfulness to the quiet that has carried you farther than any noise ever did. You are moving very close to the point where everything begins to converge. And when that happens, you will understand that every rearrangement, however silent, has unfolded with exact precision in every detail. There comes a moment when you no longer need to ask where you are in this journey, not because everything is completely clear, but because you can feel the convergence. The scattered pieces that once confused you now begin to stand next to each other in a very ordered way. You no longer feel like you are guessing. You are being guided, step by step, with a quiet certainty you have never had before. You realize that what began in silence is no longer fragile. It is now strong enough to carry the weight of light. But you also understand that this light is not meant to be displayed. It is meant to guide the way. You do not step forward to be seen. You step forward because it is time to continue. This difference completely changes how you show up in the world. Isaiah 61 comes not as a loud command, but as a very clear confirmation. Arise and shine, for your light has come. That light does not come from trying to be different. It comes from being faithful to your process. The years of silence, waiting, letting go, have all accumulated into something that cannot be copied. You begin to live differently in very ordinary things. The way you start your morning, the way you choose silence instead of reaction, the way you slow down before major decisions. You no longer chase the rhythm of the world to prove that you are moving forward. You know. And that knowing is enough for you to walk without looking back for validation. You no longer see silence as defense. It becomes strength, not because you are afraid to speak, but because you understand when to speak. You understand that words carry weight and should only be released when the timing is right. This makes every word you say carry clarity, without needing extra explanation, without needing protection. You also understand that this is not the end of the journey, but a shift into a new state, the state of someone no longer living in waiting mode. You are in motion, not rushed, not chaotic, not fearful. This movement is guided by trust, not by pressure to prove anything to anyone. There may be moments when you look back at an older version of yourself, not with regret, but with awareness of how far you have been led. You do not look down on the past. You are grateful for it, but you do not return to live there. You carry the lessons, not the weight. You begin to understand that the most sacred thing is not the dramatic breakthrough, but daily faithfulness. Faithfulness to the quiet that saved you. Faithfulness to the boundaries that protected you. Faithfulness to the whisper that guided you through places where logic was not enough. You no longer need to say that you have changed. Others will feel it when they are near you, not through stories, but through presence, through the way you are not pulled into chaos, through the way you remain at peace, even when everything around you is still shifting. You are no longer afraid of moving slower than others. You understand that moving slowly in the right direction is still faster than running the wrong way. And you have paid enough to know that there are no shortcuts for what lasts. What is being built in you is not for a season. It is for a long journey. Now, standing at this point, you do not need any more confirmation, no more big signs. You have learned to recognize the small guidance, and you trust it. That trust does not make you blind. It makes you steady, steady enough to step into what is new without losing yourself. What began in silence now has form, not to be displayed, but to be lived. And the way you live from here on is the clearest testimony of the journey you have walked. No declarations needed, no explanations required, just walk. You are no longer in the waiting room. The door has opened, not for you to run, but for you to walk with the certainty of someone who knows where they are being led. And as you walk, each small step is creating waves you do not need to see yet. Continue living as someone who has been called, not through noise, but through faithfulness. Let your life speak for what you have held in silence for so long. And when someone asks what has changed, you do not need a long sermon. Your peace will answer.